Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime on My Media Prime TV. Tonight, on this edition of the program, we're going to be looking at what is happening across the African continent with a newfound interest by global powers who are struggling to position themselves at different levels through the construction of military bases to engaging business ventures as well as so many spheres. We're going to be looking at the interest that is developed by Russia in Africa. We're going to be looking at the Europeans who are struggling to maintain their grip on the African continent, as well as the Americans and the Chinese who have been making inroads. So many persons are asking whether there is this concept of the new scramble for Africa. Are Africans resisting this interest or struggling to realign themselves and strategically positioning themselves in partnerships with big nations like Turkey, France, amongst others? We're going to be looking at this phenomenon happening in the continent with the panelists who are with me in the studio. Dr. Apostle Ambe Valentine Gua is our permanent consultant. Good evening, we're glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Cameroonians, and good evening, viewers of Prime Hour. Good evening, my co-panelists. We are here again to talk about Africa. I get interested every time we talk about Africa because the continent I hail from and equally I love.
Okay, Mr. Tazi is also coming all the way from Boya. We're glad to have you. You've been away for some time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kum, and thank you for inviting me again. I'm very glad to be here. I mean, you know, this Africa is ours, and I think it is our pleasure to make our contribution to what is happening in our continent today.
Okay, Mr. Atemebako Andrin is also with us tonight. We're glad to have you, Mr. Andrin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum Leonard, for this invitation, and the co-panelists who are here tonight, and all the special viewers of My Media Prime. I hope that our inputs, our opinions and ideas will be able to enlighten our people and viewers who are watching this program.
Mr. Enoch Sakwe is on the line. He's in the United States of America, but I'm not sure we've connected to him as yet. We are struggling to get connected to him. He's also going to be participating on tonight's edition of the program. Dr. Apostle Ambi Valentine Angwa, are we living another era for the scramble for Africa?
Yes, more than ever before, more than 1884, that conference that was held in Berlin that partitioned Africa because of the treasurer in this continent. As a matter of fact, there are many bidders right now clamoring for what is in Africa. I remember my presentation in the British House of Commons in 2023. I made it clear. I said we are in the second wave of the scramble for Africa. And this time around, the number of persons scrambling for Africa, they are so many. This is because of a lot of factors that have contributed. These countries have added so far. You talk about Russia, you talk about China, you talk about India, you talk about the Turks, you talk about the Arabs also who have invaded Africa recently, in addition to the existing West that has been in Africa for many years. It's a result of the fact that Africa is the source of all civilization. Africa is the source of all industrialization. As a matter of fact, civilization started here, and without Africa, no country can claim to industrialize. We know that in the entire Europe, Norway has the highest deposit of gas, followed by Russia. But you see, it is a few countries pick here and there in Europe that have some few raw materials. But you cannot walk the length and breadth of Africa without having raw materials in diversity in different countries. As a matter of fact, every country in Africa boasts of one raw material they stand out. If you go to Guinea Conakry, they are the giants of bauxite. You come to Burkina Faso, you come to Ghana, they are the giants of gold. You go to Cote d'Ivoire, they are the giants of cocoa. You come to Cameroon, we are the giants in agriculture. You go to South Africa, you go to Lubango and Angola, you will find oil deposits there. Nigeria, oil deposits. So, as a matter of fact, there is no country in the world that will claim to go into industrial revolution without looking for raw materials in Africa. Look countries like India that are emerging in the industrialization, and equally China rising, and equally the West and most of the countries in Asia, they are coming up. Definitely, they have to look towards where all the raw materials you may possibly get in the world are found. Number two, one of the reasons why these countries are also invading Africa, it is because these countries have also realized that Africa is a place that has unending resources. It's not something you can extract and then it gets dry, because based on what the West have exploited in Africa for all these years, if it were to dry, it would have dried up. You go to Gabon, you have abundant oil and manganese deposited there. If we start recounting, you go to Botswana, it has the best diamond in the world. I mean, we cannot name raw materials. You go to Congo, Kinshasa, you have the best cobalt, which is used for all the electronics in the world. So this continent is a treasure. Before you come to timber and you come to other things, iron that is deposited everywhere, we know why all these countries come this way, because technology has increased. People also need raw materials to improve in their respective domains. So this clash is that Africa has to take advantage of the opportunity, because I see there's an opportunity to make better bargains, to sign better deals, and to also to choose the best of the bidders who are invading, because we are now like a virgin who has pointed breast. Every man is coming. I think the most handsome and the most financially viable should be the best partner for now.
Mr. Tazi, is that the perception you have of this found interest? Are people struggling to take Africa to themselves?
Yes, and to top up to what Apostle Ambe said lastly, you know, this Africa had belonged to certain people up to now. It was something of the West, the former colonizers, and then and maybe the U.S. Russia was almost out of the picture. The Turks were out of the picture. The Chinese were almost out of the picture.
The Indians,
the Indians were almost out of the picture. And so these guys slept. Those who owned the Africa, they claimed to own Africa, they slept, and they knew that it was for them. But recently, as you carefully coined the topic, the dynamics are changing. And the Chinese, the Turks, the Russians are coming in. And that beautiful girl that Apostle Ambe mentioned is being scrambled for. The scramble for that beautiful girl now is more. Now the difference is that Apostle mentioned something about us being an opportunity. I see it as a golden opportunity, because those who have exploited us for so long with very little benefit to Africa have been threatened of being dislodged. And it is a very serious matter where the Africans can then grab the opportunity and then do new bargains. For instance, if you look at the deals that we have had in Africa, you've hardly had any deal with any country where, if you are exploiting gold or oil, where that nation has more than 10% royalties. Most often, the foreign countries take 90-something% away and pay just 3%, 4%. I read some for Sierra Leone, 3%, 4%. So when you cannot own something, Mr. Kum, I own this speaker. You come to me, you are taking 96%, and I'm taking 3%. I'm contented with that. Yes. And so at the end of the day, there's a lot of tension in the air, and this tension in the air is emanating from the fact that some new young Africans are thinking that no, the dynamics have to change. These terms have to change. I mean, just to mention an example of this young man in Burkina Faso who says, no, we are not going to export raw materials again. We are going to process it here. And you and I know that in this world of raw materials, money is found in value chain, not in the exportation of raw materials. It's when you create industries, you process those things, that you create money and you create a lot of jobs for your citizens. And from that perspective, you look at the fight, the tension between the West, that is Russia and the US and France. I mean, I sit down, I begin to look at it like, okay, so these guys actually, some of these guys actually thought that they had Africa for life. And that, because for me, I feel like a country like France is supposed to have had, like the amount of uranium they have taken from Africa, they are supposed to have thought that Africans will one day wake up. They seem to have thought that Africa will remain what it is to eternity. And I think that's where the mistake has been made by these guys in the West. And I think that where we are now, particularly the African youths, unfortunately, the youths are coming into the picture, and they have a weapon that is very strong. The youths constitute about 60% of the population of Africa. That's a very strong weapon that they have. Their numbers. So the scramble for Africa, yes. But I'm thinking that what will come out of this scramble, whatever the case, will be more beneficiary to the Africans. Okay, and it's a good opportunity for us to grab.
Okay, we are told Mr. Sakwe is on the line. Good evening, Mr. Sakwe, and we're glad to have you on Prime R.
I'm also privileged to be with you today to discuss the way forward of Africa recolonization. To the viewers, you know, it's always a good thing when we over here have to put and give some input to, you know, for the reawakening of Africa. It's an interesting topic. I'm sorry, due to connection issues, I could not begin with you guys, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yep, Mr. Sakwe, should we at this juncture still be talking about the fact that we are a beautiful lady, that is Africa, that is ready for marriage by these other continents or nations in the 21st century? Should we still be talking about the scramble for Africa at this time, 60, 70 years after our independence?
Mr. Leo, you see, when you speak like that, and the question is a good question, it makes me smile because that question reveals a lot about Africa's ignorance over the years. Yeah, for me to hear Apostle say that, Apostle is a man of wisdom. And before we even go into whether Africa is a beautiful lady that we should be remarried or whatsoever, the question we should have as Africans at this point in time is, why are we always trampled upon to the point that we have received the name of a beautiful lady? Now, I don't think Africa should still be at that level. Now, when we talk of independence 60 years, we don't need to go far. We need to look around us. Look in the country in which you are. 2010, we celebrated the 50 years of independence. What were we celebrating? Nigeria celebrates their 50 years of independence not long ago. What were they celebrating? What are African countries celebrating about independence? When you look at the concept of the celebration, it doesn't tie what is supposed to be. Because neo-colonization has been predominant in Africa. It has been present always. They said our resources belong to us, but they control it. Everything about Africa has been controlled and managed by the Western powers, like we know. Now, if we say that they want to remarry Africa again as a beautiful lady, I think they just want to come back to, they want to go back from neo-colonization to a full recolonization of Africa. That means to where things were. But if I could come back, I don't think they will meet Africa where Africa was. That's the positive tone of it. They will not meet Africa where they left Africa. Technologically, they will meet Africa where they left it. Economically, they will meet Africa where they left. Politically, they might meet Africa where they left. But when it comes to the awakening of Africa, I think which is the strongest weapon we have now, they're not going to meet us where they left us. And if you look at it, that beautiful lady has grown, has also understood the tactics of her unfaithful husband, or let me say ex-husband. So looking at this, I don't think they're going to meet Africa the way they left it, and it's not going to be easy on them this time around, Mr. Lee.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew Atemi Bako. we are in the 21st century. Africa is where it is celebrating independence almost every year, and we still have persons who think that this is a new fertile ground where we need to come and show that we start by wooing the leaders here, and so that we can implant ourselves, and we see the inroads that are being made by most of these nations. Is this what we should be living in the 21st century?
Well, Mr. Kum Leonard, I still strongly believe that the condition of the mindset of the Africans is that we should settle for something less.
Okay.
And consider to be civilized slaves. You see, if you look at the context of the transatlantic slave trade to colonialism to neo-colonialism, it's not only about the natural resources. If you look at the whole concept of the transatlantic slave trade has to do with dominance. Because we understand that the Africans, who are the dark-skinned humans, are the first living creatures on this earth and began the first civilization. So this is very important for us as Africans to first understand that we are dealing here with an issue of identity, which is why many of the Africans have not been properly educated about their own history, about their own culture, traditions, and their own biography of their founding fathers. If you look at the Africans that were taken abroad in the diaspora, you come to realize that they were the ones that put America to where it is today. The inventions, the creativity, the science and everything all generated from the black people. So they were more interested first in our human resources if they were ever going to survive in their own lands, which is why it motivated them in the transatlantic slave trade. You go to Europe, you have countries like Holland that was built by the blacks for 400 years. You go to America, the blacks built it for 400 years. So the first aim over Africa was their human resources. So the human resources is still vital till today, which is why some people may think that they are only here for the natural resources. We have blacks, African Americans living in America. We have Africans in the Caribbean. But those Africans that are out there are politically prevented from coming back to Africa. So as much as we have racism, we have eugenics, we have white supremacy, they still can live without us. So which means that even if we have our natural resources being exploited out of this country, they still need those human resources through voluntary slavery and through other political means of holding down Africans in Europe, holding down Africans in the diaspora, so that they can continue to exploit their ability, gifting, capacity, and resources which are inborn in the black-skinned human. Because science has proven that in all other races of humans that we have in this earth, the blacks are what they call the dominant race, which are capable of reproducing all other races. So this is very, very important when we started looking at the history of the transatlantic slave trade, and we saw how the church was so much involved in those that came to invade Africa, because they understood the spiritual secret that if the West was ever going to rule this world, you can only rule it from Africa. And you have to keep Africans mentally deprived from their own identity, which is why we have the gap of miseducation. You go to Europe, it's the same thing. You go to America, it's the same thing. You come even back to Africa, even in this 21st century that you are talking about, we still have our curriculum used in school, which is determined by the West. So you come to realize that the mind, which is where we are most affected, is where they have targeted us. And some people who may think that we come on TV just to talk is because you cannot build a house without a plan. You have to be able to design and come out with a plan in order for us to know how this building is going to look like. So coming on TV is to educate our people so that they understand that the concept of colonialism and what we are seeing today in Africa begins first by human resources, which is why we have a lot of Africans live in Africa. Why is it like that? Is it that Africa is not capable or does not have the capacity? It's because of the systems in which they have designed Africa to be today, make it in such a way that the resources of the land benefits only a few at the detriment of the masses. And these are those that have put these systems in place that we cannot cope today in Africa. You talk about our independence. These independence were all on conditions. And some of these conditions were like what you're hearing America imposing today on Burkina Faso, that they are using their gold to back an individual and his military regime. But you come to realize that indirectly they are saying the same thing they were saying in those days when they were going to overthrow Libya, Gaddafi, to restore back democracy. Now, why should we restore democracy when we see that it's not in the advantage of the African people? Now we have a leader who now comes as an example. The Traoré, Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso is not just a leader of that country. He's an example of what leadership in the world is supposed to be. And this is what the West have always understood, that for the world to really have proper leadership can only come from Africa. We have seen that Africa has given the best form of leaders and examples of how the world is supposed to be. And they understand that if we are able to rule this world, the world will take its shape. And this is why you realize that keeping us the way they want us to be, depriving us from having access to our own resources in order to improve the standard of our living. And this all has to come back to do with the mind. Because no one will come into your house and steal if you are not an accomplice to at a certain level of understanding and compromise with him, which is what we are seeing in our governments today. And the masses who are now exposed to social media, who are now getting to understand the depths and knowledge of what has been hidden from the African people for the years of miseducation that they have not been getting. Social media has now brought us all in one box, where the Africans at base are now connected with the Africans in the Caribbean. The Africans in the Caribbean are now connected with the African at base. So we have now this chain of proximity of information, which we are now all sharing. We may not be physically all in Africa, but our minds are gearing towards a particular direction, which is what this leadership are now facing as a challenge, whereby they are unable to rule the masses who are now more enlightened. So we have to understand that having to have almost close to 80% of us who makes the majority of the African people who are now enlightened, we are encouraging our people that we have to move forward with the vision of our founding fathers, of our forefathers, from Marcus Garvey and those who brought Pan-Africanism to Africa. We must come at one point and say we are not going to take any step further until we begin to restore the values, the visions and the goals of our founding fathers, because no people can ever move forward without their history. So the fact that our history is being kept away from us, but now we have the ability to understand the blueprint and the path in which our founding fathers have laid, which is what you are seeing today in Burkina Faso, which is what we saw today in Mali. And this is what we are going to enforce in Africa. It's not a coup. They are not the one to determine or to define the kind of languages, whether it's democracy, whether it is coup. We don't know what coup is. All we know is we want good leadership that meets the demands of their people and holds the values of their founding fathers. That is our position. So I think, Mr. Kum Leonard, the aspect of the natural resources we also understand is in order to build a paradise by which promotes voluntary slavery. The more they build over there and keep Africa impoverished, the more Africans are tuned.
Rushing over.
Failing to understand that the resources of those nations and their economies depend from where they are coming from. Because if they don't steal from here, they can't build over there. Whether it is natural, whether it is human, it's impossible. So until we come back together, and how do we build back this unison, is to be able to understand that we will never, as Africans, grow by using the systems of the West. It's impossible.
Okay.
We can't promote democracy.
Okay. These guys who are coming, we see the Turks who are here almost every day. They are across the African nations or continent. We see the Chinese who are there. We see the moves of the Russians. They are almost everywhere now. And these other new nations, has the mindset changed?
About the Africans?
Yes, we know that, about the Africans. Are they coming to develop away from what we had in the past?
None of these people who are coming to Africa are coming to develop Africa.
Okay.
None of them. I told somebody who came from China, I said, if China actually loved Africa, they would not have come with loans. Because the IMF came with loans. The World Bank came with loans. China has come with loans, even though their loans are on low interest rate. it is the same strategy, but in another approach, with another approach, because they will tell that Chinese loans are cheaper. The World Bank's loan they are very heavy. In 1994, the bank loan rate for the IMF to Nigeria was 24%. China now gives loan for 10%, for 7%, for 8%. So we look at China as the angel that has come to rescue Africa from the clutches of the West. If China actually loved Africa, they would have brought exchange in technology in exchange of raw materials. They shouldn't have brought loans to develop our communities, because they are so-called structural adjustment programs that came, where we give so much money and they used to construct roads, they used to construct bridges, they used to construct stadiums, and then at the end of the day, they would tell us that they would now cut money from the salaries of all the civil servants to pay back these loans with interest. And then you think that you are benefiting the person who is working the civil service by constructing a road and a stadium. Meanwhile, the person cannot fit well in his home. How can we take money to develop inanimate objects when the animate objects that make things happen are not well fed? How do you cut salaries from workers to construct a stadium where the people are not part of the football team? How do you cut salary? That's what happened in Zambia. Edgar Lungu, before he left power, took the entire nation and sold it to China. Collected loans from China, constructed good roads and streets while people were unable to feed themselves. You go down to Pakistan, it's the same thing. Textile industry in Pakistan collapsed because so much money was borrowed to China at the expense of the people. They interviewed somebody in the streets of Pakistan, Islamabad. After talking with him, he said, we cannot even feed our children anymore. So you explain this, that people are being deprived food because a stadium is to be constructed. People are deprived food because they have to construct a street. In between the people who make things happen and those structures in the nation, which one is better? So we keep thinking that these guys are coming to help us. Russia has infiltrated Africa. They came with misinformation and disinformation. They are trying to give us an impression that they are coming to rescue us. Quite all right. Let's see the example. It is too quick and too early to make conclusions if Russia has come to rescue us from the hands of the West. And somebody said, and I agree totally, that if we want liberation, we want complete liberation. We cannot leave the chains of one colonial master and go to take a chain from another colonial master.
That's Wallis
saying that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm asked this question as an African, that are these guys coming to benefit us? If any of them were interested in us, they should have done exchange.
But
for
what is your take of these situations where we are giving loans and because we are unable to pay, the nation actually says we are seizing your ports, we are seizing
I'm coming
this?
there.
Yeah,
I'm coming there. That's what I'm saying. If you look critically, IMF.
When every anniversary is an opportunity to reward loyalty, Orange is here to celebrate its 25th anniversary with all Cameroonians. Many prizes to win for the occasion, tourism trips, latest smartphones, and lots of other surprises. Quick, subscribe to Orange Bonus on #111*1# or via the Maxit app. Gather a max of points and try to win great prizes. Orange is here.
Market in Turkey for us to come and buy. You will not open market in China. We are only buying and selling. They say
Almost
Chinese goods
going,
are
yeah.
cheaper. They should take our own children, indigenous seeds from this land, take to China, teach them the technology of creating cars in exchange of the raw materials so that we can be independent technologically. If at all we don't arrive that level, then all of us are playing games.
Okay. Yes.
That's a good one. Mr. Kum, I want to say that I will start from where Apostle ended about these loans. You see, these guys, for anybody to think that they are coming to help us is a lie, but I have a reservation there.
Okay.
To differ with Apostle a bit, because there's something in life, in geopolitics, to send away a bully, you need another bully. So the challenge is, which of these two bullies do you benefit more from?
Which of the devils do you choose?
Which of the devils, my brother?
All of them are devils.
The bully is not enough. Which of the devils will benefit you better And that's where we stand today. And that's why I think that if you look at the situation, and that's why you see somebody like Ibrahim Traore is wanted dead more by African leaders than by America and Europe. Why? Because he has understood that this loan thing, just as Apostle said, any loan you take is bad. So the solution is stay out of loans, trade your natural resources, set up factories, build those natural resources, generate money from there and develop. So no matter whether you had loan for 30% or for 10% or what, it's a loan, and all loans are bad. That's the first thing I wish to say. The second thing I wish to say is that my brother mentioned that my co-panelist mentioned something about what the West left behind, their democracy, their education. And see, when I sit down and look at it, I'm one person that I'm a practical person. And as of now, I believe that democracy does not work for Africa. The whole thing of democracy doesn't work for Africa. For three simple reasons. One, for more than 60 years, democracy has failed to develop any country in Africa. It has completely failed to develop any country in Africa. Democracy have completely. Secondly, I don't believe in democracy in Africa because democracy is not a process via which African leaders are selected. You can come on TV and pretend, but we know that those who rule Africa are not selected through the democratic process. If Mr. Kum is contesting for president and I vote for him, and at the end of the day, my vote does not count for him, and Mr. Ambe Valentine becomes the president against the vote that I casted for Mr. Kum, then that's no longer democracy. This is the second reason why I don't believe in this democracy shit. The third reason, look at the Arab world. Look at the pace. Within 45 years, the Arab world is so developed. They don't have any democracy there. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Korea, they don't have any democracy. Look at the rate of development. So, for us to grab this philosophy of democracy and sit on it, and we are killing ourselves in the name of democracy, it is something that I know democracy doesn't work for Africa. The educational system we inherited from the West is not working for Africa. That's why for more than 60 years, we import toothpick. We cannot do cars. We cannot produce phones in Africa. So the educational system they gave us is not working for Africa. And I'm a practical person. I'm saying that Albert Einstein said it is only a fool who will do something the first time, get results, second time, get results, the third time, he does the very thing and expect different results. Africans are proven to be fools. I'm sorry to use this harsh word. But the truth is that what has not worked for Africa for 60 years, Africa is still proposing, thinking that it can work. It cannot work. For me, let's try something else. There's something else I don't know. But democracy and the type of education we have is completely a bullshit. And I'm saying that we should be careful. If we are not careful, the youth in Africa are beginning to see that something else is working. And that's why you see that watching those guys in the Sahel very, very closely. Because if you are doing something that will benefit the people, if you are building roads, building hospitals, providing facilities, and they started so well. When you pay off, Apostle said the World Bank never seized property. Yes, they never did. That's true. The Chinese are seizing property, yes. But why are they seizing property? Because of loans. So what is the way out of all this? Stay out of loans. And the guys in the Sahel have understood. This is why they are a threat. They are wanted dead even more by African leaders, because the African leaders have planted an impression in Africans that Africa cannot develop without loans. Up to now, they have planted that impression. And the guys in the Sahel within the past year have proven that Africa could pay back those loans and still develop without loans. And they are looking at them as, these guys have revealed our secrets. So how do we do it? They want these guys dead more than even the West. So if to move out of this problem in Africa, we need to understand that you have to try a different approach. That different approach is what I don't know. But we need to try something else. We have to develop Africa.
Okay, we need to try something else. Mr. Enoch Sakwe wants to react to what Mr. Aka just said. Mr. Enoch, we are all ears.
What he's saying is something which is a key aspect. It's a very strong instrument in neocolonialism. I used to say, I told students sometimes before, I discuss it on other platforms sometimes before, if Africa needs to develop, they need to do away with the Western curriculum. You cannot tell me, Mr. Leo, that for 60 years you have an educational system that cannot produce engineers that can create things. Yet you see high school children in Japan manufacturing stuff that graduates and PhD holders back home in Africa are buying. It doesn't make sense to me. You look at what a college or a high school student here in America can do with chemistry, you are marveled. You look at what they can do with science, with IT, it marvels me, and I be like, then what package are we having over there? So I just want to corroborate with what he said. We need to, if Africa, Africa independence, it needs to begin with doing away two things which are so strong in Africa: education and religion. When they put away that colonial curriculum, if we can go to UB, we learn biology in a way that is not designed, in a curriculum that is not designed by the Westerners. We learn chemistry in a curriculum that is not designed by the Westerners. We are going to have bioengineers who can come up with, who will be able to manufacture and come out with recipes that are better. We'll be able to have chemists who are able to produce stuff, physicists. We'll be able to have IT engineers who are able to manufacture things. We will not rely only on the West. However, the package they gave to us is not the real thing. If it's the real thing, I'll say this since we are on TV, I'll say if it was the real thing, there are examples to show that the curriculum in Africa is a mess. Your English language that study in Africa over this way is not credible. They'll tell you need to take a test to confirm that you can speak English. But you tell them, hey, I have studied in English language. English language has been my language of instruction since from birth. And no. But they won't give you any tangible reason why you have to go through a process and even be put to take some pre-English language courses if you fail the test. But why? It's because they know that what is given, designed and sent to Africa is not the real thing. So if English language which is spoken is not accepted, which means it was not a real thing, what about the chemistry, the physics? What about it? What about the biology? So I think our leaders listening to us should sit and do something about it. Meet those countries who have been able to design their own curriculum and are done with this Western curriculum, how they did it. Yes. And when we can study in our own education, when we can worship in our own religion, in our own African spirituality, we can start talking of Africa's independence. As long as, because what is in the mind controls the mind. The mind is the center of everything. From small, when you are an infant, you are being structured to believe that a certain race of people are superior to you. When I say this, education is sensitive, but religion is more sensitive. But I'll tell you, Mr. Leo, a pastor told me over here, a white pastor told me, we are the God you blacks pray to. Now, it's very sensitive what he said, but he said it and he gave me reasons. So I think Africa has to do away with this Western curriculum and Western religion called Christianity and Islamism in order for them to
our ability for us to unite. We don't need them to teach us. We don't need them to give us curriculum. Our own scientists who are abroad, our own African roots that are living in the Caribbean, in America, and different parts of the world, in Haiti, who have discovered and invented great things which their invention has been stolen and the history has been wiped away. We want them to teach us. We don't need white people to teach us. We can teach ourselves. If they have found favor and developed themselves, build an economy, build a legacy, the civilization which they have from Africa, that means Africans are capable of taking care of themselves. What we need is unity. We don't need all these pre-propositions or this, whether the West is coming in here. Now, let's look at another aspect of why Russia, why did Ibrahim Traoré had to hook up with Russia. Do not forget, Assimi Goïta was the only African leader that made veto members began fighting among themselves. Even brought the war in Ukraine because of Russia intervention in Mali when France was removed away, because there was a policy that whoever comes to Africa to exploit Africa, make sure you leave them in poverty. Do not bring them to a mind of being independent. So when Russia came in and enabled Goita to kick away France, that was a major blow for the NATO to build alliance and say we are going to build a military base in Ukraine. Because of Assimi Goita's intervention and relationship with Russia, today we have a war in Europe against veto members, against the Europeans, at the advantage of the African people. And from that foundation, Africa has been gearing and building alliance of touch one, touch all. And that's where we are going to. So we have to be able to understand that. You go to, we're talking again about why are we in this condition, Mr. Kum Leonard. You go to China, they teach in Chinese. You go to different countries, Germany, they teach in German. You go to France, they teach in French. You go to Britain, they teach in Britain. All those other places, they teach in their binocular, in dialect, Mr. Kum Leonard. You and I are here waxing in English, and these are the people you want us to deal with. When we are using a language which is it is so downgraded that even when you travel over there, they have to evaluate your standard of English by giving you an examination test, whether you pass it or you fail it. So you come to realize that all of these methods are to keep us behind. We should be able, like I keep saying, that why do we have to depend on the West? Is because of the form of government.
That if you are not depending on the West, should you depend on the East?
No, you should depend on yourself. We should have leaders that focuses on giving our people to have intellectual independence, to be able to defend themselves in order to defend their nation. So these people we are talking of, the African people, we want them to be intellectually independent first, which is why our own people should be able to address our own problems. Our own intellectuals should be able to address our own problems in order to lift up our people to a global and to a fitful understanding, so that we can be able to know that we can have a strong military defense, a strong economic which is based on our nationals, not multinationals, which is based on our nationals. Then we can begin to negotiate with these people.
Okay.
But we cannot negotiate with them when we are depending on them.
Okay. Good evening to you, Mr. Kum, and all the panelists. Africa needs to reposition herself because of her treasures. Henry Zong is watching from Bingo. Good evening, sir. So impressed with the speakers in the studio. Kudos to you. Kevin is writing from Bafusam. Good evening. It has always been the battle of the mind, from miseducation to Western governance democracy. The Africa of those days can never be the Africa of today or tomorrow. Africa youths are gradually becoming enlightened. IMF and her branches are simply the continuation of the devilish Berlin Conference. Ibrahim Traore has taken the lead, and Africans are already aware of their evil deeds. These guys are simply moving from the physical chains to mental chains. All borrowed systems cannot work in African soil. Africa must watch out. I'm Tefu, you watching live from Yaoundé. I am Akuro from Bonaberry. I don't expect white to come to Africa to give a free offer. It is business, and the bid should be fair, but African leaders are greedy enough or not to bid well for us. Russia is better partner because they want Africa to stand her own benefit. Is the West. Her rivals will collapse, so Russia is fighting the West indirectly by opening the eyes of Africans. Dr. Apostle Ambi Valentine Ngwa, the topic has to do with resistance or realignment. We see what is happening. We have the African USA Summit. Our leaders move from Africa to the United States to engage partnerships. We have the African France Summit. We see them move over to Paris, and they are received by the French president. So we have the African Russian Summit. They all move from here to Russia. They are received by Putin, and they discuss the sign, and Russia says, I am giving Africa this. We have the African China Summit, African Japan Summit. Do you see our leaders positioning themselves as these are continents who are going for summits with nations? Do they give us a sense of people who want to realign, that is repositioning the existing partnerships with continents, or these guys are saying that okay, we just need assistance?
As a matter of fact, all these summits have been sending messages to Africa that Africa is not, I repeat, 54 nations. Africa is a nation. They were supposed to have seen these things from the other side, that these guys assemble all of us as Africa, that we should start thinking that we are a nation, not 54 states. Because if Russia calls 54 states, it's calling Africa. They are not calling Cameroon, they are not calling Kenya, they are calling Africa. That act alone should make us understand that there is something wrong with our identity. Because when they are summoning us, they summon 54 nations which we claim to be under a single banner called Africa. I've never heard France Cameroon summit. I've never heard China Nigeria summit. I've never heard Japan Egypt summit. I've never heard Russian South Africa summit. But they say Afro Russia summit, Afro China summit, Afro French summit, Afro Japanese summit. Is it not a call by the West telling you that you have missed your identity, that we do not know those things you call nation? We know a single nation in Africa, and that's what we call Africa. So in a nutshell, Africa is a nation. That's what the West is telling us every day. But greed, egocentricness, pride will not allow these 54 subdivisional officers to accept that they are a nation, not a continent. They should know that if they organize an Afro-China summit, it means the Chinese are telling you that we are not seeing 54 countries in Africa, we are seeing a nation called Africa. We are supposed to have come back from that meeting and tell ourselves that they never call. In other words, if you check the files of the Chinese government, they don't know Senegal, neither do they know Cameroon, they don't know Egypt.
No, they know all these nations.
Mr. Leo, I'm landing. I'm making a point. They don't know them. Because if they knew them, they should be holding.
They have embassies. They have embassies
Afro China. They are holding embassies in the different towns in Africa, not in nations. Because if at all they knew these people are nation, they would have called nation to nation. They will not call a continent and give it a name. So it is important for us to, I don't see where they are wrong. They are instead educating us that we have missed our identity. Let's wake up from slumber and take our true identity. The day they will call Afro-Senegal Summit, that's the day we will know that we have nations in Africa. But as long as they are calling Afro-China, it means they know that they have set a knife to sever us away from those things that brought us together. Number two, they know very well that a single town in Africa called Senegal does not have the business acumen, the business resources that can deal with them as a nation. So they are dealing with the resources of the entire continent. They don't have the currency that can deal with them as mates. Because towns in China, Guangzhou, the state budget is stronger than about 6 different towns in Africa you call nations. So it is important for us to beef up our economy so that we can now do business with them shoulder to shoulder. We can do business face to face. Not a thing where it's an improper fraction where China is far up there. For your information, China is 1.5 billion people in number. The entire African continent is 1.3 billion people. It means a nation is more populated than a continent. Wake up! A nation, China, is more populated than Africa, a continent. Now, when they call us Afro-China Summit, what is the difference between Africa being a nation and all these small nations put together? So the strength of those people is as long as we are divided. We are split. Okay. We are splitted. In addition, to conclude to what you just asked me, how can China, that has a budget of about 30 trillion, as gross domestic product, GDP, begin to do business with Benin or Cameroon, that the entire budget is not up to $5 billion, what are they going to discuss? And that's why we have to get up and think within and stop all this charade that we are running helter-skelter. In other words, in addition to that, the kind of disrespect that they give to some of these 54 nations, they will pack presidents of different countries in a bus. But for the very first time, a private jet is sent from Russia to come and pick a single president in Africa. That's honor, dignity, and value placed on a man. The kind of respect that somebody gives you will tell you where you are in the person's heart and the person's mind. So I think it's very important for us to start acknowledging the fact that these people don't see us as nations. They see this entire continent as a nation. We should come back home and be that nation that's supposed to be, because we have 54, 55 states in this Africa that can still make a nation. America has 50 states and is a nation. There are some countries in this Africa that are not big as some states in America. That's the truth. The last time I checked, from Melbourne to Perth in Australia, flight within the nation is 6 hours.
Yes, but what we are talking about, recognizing Africa, that the United States says, you guys come over. China says, you guys come over. And Russia says, you guys come over. That is, you go out there to sign partnerships. That because in international relationship, whatever you are signing there must be a winner. So China will not call you in your interest. China is engaging you guys in a business that must profit the Chinese. France did the same. Almost everybody is going for a business. Though at first level it may appear as if it is in your interest, but they have a bigger stake. How do I call you to my home to do business in my favor? Why would they not even move to Africa to say yes?
Yeah, Mr. Kum, I love that. You see, Apostle Ambo just preached that Africans should learn this lesson and unite. Do you know the way these guys treat us? When it comes to this summit, they call us as one. When it comes to negotiating businesses, they negotiate them separately.
Pay your taxes and custom fees at Express Exchange. The solution is close to you. Enter an Express Exchange agency, head to the cash register with your tax notice, and make your payment of tax and custom fees with ease. Receive a confirmation receipt. So cool, Mula. Yes, Mula. From now on, I pay my taxes and custom fees at Express Exchange. It's simple. Express Exchange, partner of the Guild and the Directorate General of Taxation. Express Exchange, number one in quality service in Cameroon.
These Europeans are and Americans, they are very controversial. One of the greatest surprise I've had in recent world politics is the policies of the American President Trump. Trump said America for Americans. And Trump is sending away Africans. He started by saying that African leaders have failed to develop Africa. They have developed their country, America. Africans should go and force their leaders to develop their country. They don't want Africans in America. And he's deporting Africans from the US. Now, this is an African.
Yeah, but Africans who are there illegally, those who are legal, he's not deporting everybody.
No, Mr. Ko, I think that you are getting it wrong. That he's not only deporting illegal immigrants.
Our brother who is participating is participating from the United States. Yes. I'm not sure he's going to. Yeah.
No, let me come. They were American policies of former American presidents that gave certain conditions for people to come to America. And those conditions were not illegal conditions. They were legal conditions that you come, you follow this process, maybe the asylum process, you become an American citizen. Those who were in that process, who were legally recognized by the former government, are now being thrown away by the Trump. What is even make it very controversial to me about this Trump man is that you say America for Americans, Africans should go away. Yes, Africans are going, but now there's a group of 3 guys in Africa who said no. Want to develop our country so that our youth will stop coming to Europe, to America, and then you are out to kill them. So where do you want the black people to stay? They come to your country, you send them away. They want to develop their country, you want to kill the person who is developing their country. So you see, it makes me to think that these guys actually feel that at one moment we should not own what we have, and we should not even exist. They should push us in the middle, and then we just get to disappear in the middle. And secondly, the last thing which I wish to take something from what my co-panelists mentioned about what happened in Mali and Russia, and then resulting in the war in Ukraine. And I wish to say that, you see, when you look at geopolitics, it is so complicated that if you look at it from face value, you will be able to think that you can tame somebody, an aggressor, when if you don't look at it from when it all started. So when we look at what is happening today in the Sahel nations and what's happening in Russia and in Ukraine, these are things that would have been avoided. So you sit down, there's something in life. I keep saying,
Mr. Aka,
yes.
Mr. Aka, you are going away from the question I asked you.
Yes.
My question says that we have the African continent.
Yes.
But our heads of states are consistently being invited out of Africa for summits, which could be held in Africa. Would it not be better to show honor and dignity to these presidents that Putin leaves Russia and comes to Addis Ababa to discuss with African presidents, that Trump leaves the United States and comes to maybe in Dakar to discuss with...
let me answer your question precisely. Well, let's look at this. These summits are a business.
Yes.
So when you move 54 African leaders, they are with their entourage, they are occupying hotels in your country. This is a lot of revenue that you are bringing to your country. And this is something that if a Russian comes here, is alone. And all the meeting at Addis Ababa. So it is a business. One of the strategies is to minimize Africa, to make Africans know that you are worth nothing. So if anything I can call you and you come and say, honestly, I want to tell you, if you are an African who thinks that you have something to discuss with this guy on equal terms, they will have united, as Apostle said. And I think by the time they think that people like the young guys coming up, if they were at their level, they will be able to push them, because it has got to a point where when you're on a negotiation table with somebody and you have a strong force of argument, you can pull the person. For now, we don't have a strong force of argument. So we're only carrying us to China, to Japan, to the US all the time. So it is a matter of economics and a matter of benefits. And these deals, they go and strike. They strike those deals and they favor them more than they favor us. What lesson have Africans learned? This is why the young generation is thinking that the African leadership has failed Africa.
Okay. Mr. Mr. Sakwe has something to say, but actually I would not want us to focus on that, because that's not the topic for tonight. You want to say something very briefly on what Mr. Tazi has said on Trump, but my question also comes to you. How comfortable are you when African heads of state have to move from continent to continent to strike a deals? What does it tell of our continent?
Thank you, Mr. Leo. What Akanji said, firstly, to clear the air, Trump is not a button the way the media try to put it. If every African president would think like Trump, and then Africa will develop. Yeah, Trump is not moving around and doing whatsoever the media is saying. No, Trump has issues with the bad guys over here. I think just to clear the air, what is happening over here, I live it day to day and I say, hey, he has problems with the criminals and the illegals. So he's actually a good guy. Now, coming back to your question, Mr. Leo, why is, how do I feel African presidents moving out of Africa going to negotiate deals outside? The first thing that comes to mind is, what kind of father will always leave his house and go elsewhere to solve his problems? What kind of father is that? It means in your own house, you don't have respect. The person calling you does not give you that respect. You don't have that value. You are not up to the person that somebody should visit you, come to your own house to discuss business. If you are a businessman, an important and an influential businessman, people come to you. But when you are a businessman that people always displace you at will, at their own will, whether you are healthy or not, they just call you and you go, it means you are not up to their ranks. So I have a kind of, my feelings towards that is funny. Yeah, it's mixed. To me, I feel like, why can't African presidents also reach the level that they can call China, they can call Russia, they can call the United States, they can call Europe, they can call them and say, oh, come, let's talk business, let's talk about my resources. You need my natural resources, I need your technology. Okay, I can live without you, but you cannot live without me. I think here that there is an aspect we lack the negotiation skill. I think that's the best way I can put it. Because even if you go in the 1990s, when the AGOA was formed, as reported by the Chicago Journal, you realize that during that AGOA, that summit, you realize that those Black Africans who were in the US, who gathered legislators and formed group, listen to what they said, that African can be developed by non-profit organizations. If you read articles, Mr. Liu, you will ask yourself, who were these people representing? What were they thinking? So it already reflected a kind of lack of negotiation skill, lack of business skill. That presence that I know where I come from. I'm important. You need me, I need you. So Africa lacks that. Our leaders lack that. That is why you see, till today, they will call African leaders and toast them. But what I want our leaders to know, those who are watching in Africa to know, is you can do without the West. The West cannot do without you. They need your resources. You don't need their technology. If it comes to that bottom line, I know a lot of people are going to react to this. We live in a modern where we need technology. Oh yeah, we sure do need technology. But if it comes to drawing the line that, oh, who needs each other? They need us. They need you. They should have that. And another thing I want to say is, our leaders should learn to have negotiators around them, people who have these skills. It's not just about, everything is not politics. When you speak to politicians here, you listen to the way they think, it looks like you should remove their minds and put it in the mind of our political leaders in Africa. You'll be like, how do these people can think like this? Why should they think like this? How come they are able to think like this? And when they meet with our own leaders don't understand the way they think. Why? Number one, the process of thinking was built and developed by them. So somebody has constructed a process, and you get into that process, you won't understand it as much as he does. So what should you do? Stay out of it. Build your own process and then get them in. Okay. Or if you cannot build yours, at least find yourself in a neutral ground. If you are going to Russia to negotiate, you are going to China to negotiate, you are already 1-0 down in the argument, because you are in their house. You don't have that enough backing to argue whatsoever is brought before you. And I used to wonder if the purpose of this visit, they used to receive this document, read it in detail, give it to experts to explain to these deals why and how it impacts their nations and the future consequences of it. I don't know if they usually have such teams. But you see, when it comes to things like that, Mr. Liu, these people are way ahead of us. Okay. They are so way ahead of us. They have committees, bureau for everything. You will be shocked that when it comes to me, whatever is happening in Cameroon, USA has a bureau about it. These are experts. So you can't win them. They are prepared for you at any time you come. So what I would advise our leaders is, stop going there. It doesn't make any difference. You have been going there for how long? What is the change? Why going to negotiate a deal that is not going to favor you? China came with billions of dollars, and China has begun to take nations' properties, not individual, that you cannot pay your loan. It's a shame and a blow. But when Africa was present in China, I saw the banner on TV, 60 billion US dollar. I was like, oh, this is a huge amount of money. And now Africa has to pay in kind. It's a shame. And you see, this thing that our leaders do, they minimize themselves, they look down on themselves. It promotes cultural supremacy of the other race. So they know that they can call you at any time you respond. You have lost the game. That's how they think. It is never a fair game. It will never be a fair game. It is always a game of a winner. And whatever it takes, do whatever it takes for you to win. You are either the launch or you are the launch maker. There is no free dinner. So when our leaders are moving out, oh, they have called me, I'm going. Oh, I'm going. This one is going to be good. No. Like Apostle Ambe said, nobody has a solution for Africa. Nobody. Even if they take that meeting tomorrow and say, after mass meeting, people should go to mass and hold it, it's not going to do anything for Africa. It's still going to exploit African resources, keep Africans poor, such that Africans can always do the jobs that a certain superior race in code cannot do. So they should have this. I don't feel good about it, Mr. Liu. To answer your question, I feel like a president should be treated equally. They should be given that respect. And looking at what Ibrahim Traore is doing, when I watched on TV that a private jet left from Russia to pick him up, I was like, oh wow. I discussed with my friends here. I'd be like, oh, we say, oh, Africa is waking up. Look at the first president to receive international respect. The other should follow suit. The other should call him. He's young. Yes, he might be my age mate. He's young. Even it doesn't matter your age. Hey, how do you get to this level? What are you doing? There should be that collaboration amongst them, so that they will not be ridiculed again. It's ridiculous that you call presidents of 54 nations to come to a single country, and that you are signing deals. Oh, come on. I wouldn't do that. If I'm a president, I'm not going.
Okay.
I will tell you, I'm not even going to send a representative. I'll tell you, I'm not doing that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sakwe. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panelists. About Peter writing from Tico. The program is very educative. I do appreciate. Thank you. Good evening, BT Media Group. Nice watching the nice program about Africa mobilizes for Traore. I'm writing from Zambia. Okay, thank you. Moam Edwin writing from Ebonji. Afro seminar simply means we need United States of Africa. Mr. Leo, good evening to all the panelists. Thanks for inviting Mr. Ebako concerning Africa. Greetings to you all. I love the program. China is not populated than Africa. China has an estimated population of about 1.4 billion and Africa over 1.5 billion with a faster growing rate. Now, Mr. Andrew Atemibako, when we go out there to Russia, to China, to almost all these nations purported, France and the United States, we go as very poor nations. That is the impression we give. Are we really poor?
Mr. Kum Leonard, that definition of a third world nation is coming from the West, not from the African people.
Yes, but we accept it. we saw during let me cue you. We saw during the Ukraine-Russia war, African nations mobilized to go to Russia to ask for grains. Yes, is it the West? Russia is even in the East. When we move as a group to say, please, we need grains in Africa, is it Russia that is saying that you guys are poor?
Let me try to make some corrections to that, Mr. Kulina, because when you use the word we, it seems as if it is collective. It is a group of people. There is an organization of people who are responding to that call.
without the permission of their masses. For
No,
example,
they're elected by the masses.
No.
They're elected by the masses.
Mr. Kum Leonard, let us not play these games. The leaders we are complaining of going abroad were not elected by the masses. Do not forget. Yes, they were elected by the masses from a minority party. Don't get this wrong. Which is why we believe that some of these meetings which they go out for is another means for the West telling them, this is a safe place for you to bank your money. The monies which we are giving you here is more safer to keep the money here. Number two, these are the form of leaders which have signed to keep the colonial structures and treaties in Africa at the detriment of the African people, which they must respond to the call. They are obligated to respond to that call. I'll give you some few examples, Mr. Kum Leonard. We may end up still blaming these leaders and thinking that they are less educated. They understand what is happening. A gun is put at their head. We have seen it time without numbers of leaders who have stood for their people, and they were threatened openly. Many of them, it's just like when France left, was which African country, they had to block all the pipe-borne water hole with cement. Did a lot of things to warn the other African countries that if you do not obey us, these are the things that we follow. They threaten our leaders to assassinate them, to take them to ICC. They heck.
You don't have any proof, eh?
No, I'm just giving you an example. We have seen, Mr. Kum Leonard, I'm not talking propaganda. I'm not just talking out of logic. I'm telling you what is happening, that when you, being a part of the United Nations, which you are considered to be a federal state, and the government of this federation is the United Nations, which means that they have laws that override laws even in your own country. America has signed out from certain organizations in the United Nations. We have been believed and told and taught by the West that power is hereditary, is not elected. Our leaders, before they are elected, they are selected, not by the masses of their people, else the African people will not be agitating and will not be offended by the system of leadership in Africa and will not protest. And sometimes we see coups in different African countries to tell you that the African majority are displeased with what they are seeing in the name of leaders. These leaders are people that the majority did not vote them. They are all elected, appointed from minority groups. I've given very good practical examples. These are the agendas of the Berlin Conference, that when a call is made, is prior to the Berlin Conference, that Africa is not owned by Africans. It's owned by the West that have shared Africa among themselves and put in a system by which the Africans, if they are going to manage themselves, must use, and which are systems brought in by the Europeans, which is, for example, take example like a country of Cameroon. We have over 300 to 400 political parties. Indirectly, you have given power to the ruling party. Why? Because we stand in different, what they call balkanization. The people are not speaking with one voice. They are not in one box. They have been splitted in small groups. And it is in this form that we want to be looking for leaders who, at the end of the day, will keep their party politics, we keep their party ethics, and we protect the interests of the one who has brought them their democracy for their own advantage at the detriment of the masses. So these leaders who go out, whether they are called by China, whether they are called by this to go and loan money, in my understanding, the Africans, we should hold them responsible to pay those loans and not the African people. An individual will not leave a minority group and go to the World Bank and take money to indebt a whole nation. We are not that stupid, Mr. Kum Leonard. We should hold them responsible to pay that money.
Yeah, but this monies were used to construct roads and...
Mr. Kum Leonard, you cannot give loans to minority groups. This is not democracy. This is a violation of human rights, because the rights of the people...
But they are the leaders.
Who put them there, Mr. Kum Leonard? These are not the masses. And this, we talk about we talk about the human rights organization at the level of the United Nations. They are unable to protect the rights of the African people. We have organizations that are all accomplices to the exploitation of African people. We cannot go by this definition and logic of these are our leaders. Who put them there? And why are we agitating that they should leave and they are not still living? because you cannot expect a poor people who cannot even feed themselves, cannot even defend themselves, and these are the people you are calling out to go and vote, knowing that those who have the yam and have everything can control the will and the destination of these people. This is where they have left us, that we should practice democracy. At the time they brought in America, they have built an empire, built a legacy, built an economy. We are underdeveloped. We are living in poverty. And you bring us the same democracy, is to kill the African people, which is why democracy is the most destructive thing that has ever come to Africa. We have to take a different approach. And the approach we need to take, Mr. Kum Leonard, is that we want our social development, economic development to be based on our human resources through our unity. With the African Americans that are in Africa, we should be able to build alliances, means by which we are able to educate ourselves, come together in order for us to build an Africa for Africans. He's keeping America for Americans. Let us keep Africa for Africans. So they should not by any means, by any system, control Africa or intrude in Africa. That's not democracy. That's an abuse of human rights. So we should be able to define and charter our own course, because we have our own founding fathers. We have blueprints. We have a history. If a man like Ibrahim Traoré is taking a lead, Assimi Goïta is taking a lead, and they are opposing when they are seeing 15 million people in Mali went on the street to defend one man, Assimi Goïta, and they are asking the Malians to go back to a ballot box. And when democracy, they have made us to believe that democracy is looking for the majority. 15 million people out of a population of 18 million are on the street saying we want Assimi Goïta, and you are telling them to go back to the ballot box through democracy. Something is wrong here, Mr. Kum Leonard. We do not need the Association of the United Nations. We do not need the veto power. We need unity. The dying problem of Africa right now is our unity.
Yes,
it's not all this propaganda.
The question remains whether we are resisting Africans, the new scramble for Africa, because do you have the impression that Africa is under intense pressure? It is true that Russia is here for security deals and mining rights. China is there for infrastructure and raw material. The US is there for military bases, trade and counter-terrorism. The EU is there to control of migration. They need our partnership and access to markets. Other Gulf states, food security, India, Turkey, and diplomatic issues. No, and these guys, when they come for all of this, in the past, we consider that our leaders during colonialism, when we were colonized, our parents did not go to school. They did not understand these things. But we have leaders who today master all of this. How do we understand that they cannot strike real deals that favor us? Don't see that, because he was talking about the issue of moving with experts. We have economic finance advisors to our heads of states. We have experts in all of these domains. What is not working?
When you talk about we have new breed of leaders, I'm still to find out how true is that statement.
No,
because we have
professors today. We have people who have gone to Sorbonne.
Leadership now,
people who have
in leadership now. We have presidents who have been there for 40 years. So there's no new leader. He's an old man in a new era. We can say we have a new era, but the same old people. Because how will you call Cameroon having a new leadership after 42 years? Or is he Uganda since 1986? Or is he Equatorial Guinea? Explain to me. So now these persons also who have even struggled to go out of power, they have left their successors, people whom they have brainwashed. So it's a chain reaction. Either the old man is there, or he has produced his type and kept with the same modus operandi. There is no new thing. It's the same people with different images and the same ideologies. That's what the problem is. So when we talk about new leaders, are these young people who are coming out and changing the trend? Because you cannot tell me that Nigeria is having a new leader from Buhari to Tinubu. There's nothing new from Buhari to Tinubu. If you say Uganda is having a new leader from Museveni to Museveni, it's still Museveni. Cameroon is from President Pobia to President Pobia. So the thing continues. So you tell me that there are no new leaders. Now, if we want to call new leaders, we're talking about these new guys who are able to kick people out of power, because anybody who claim to have come to power in a democratically elected way in Africa. It was Samora Machel who said in 1963, he said, if the West still praising you, it means it knows that you are still working hand in glove with them. So when you discover that we're having new leaders, the first thing is that the people like Assimi Goïta who took power in Mali, immediately they took power, the United Nations spoke that they should send the military back to the barrack. They should not go and occupy the office of a democratically elected president. They are criticizing Assimi Goïta. They say Traoré is taking the Burkina Faso money to build security. Chani is taking money for uranium for his personal interests. The question we should be asking, what has Obiangema been doing with the money of Burkina Faso and the rest of the other presidents in Africa? What have they been doing with the money? So why are these people not interested in these guys who have been there? That means they are the same yesterday, today, and forever. If you call the leaders of 1960, they are the ones. The ones that came in the 80s is still them. We are in the 2000s, it's still the same people who are there. So which leadership revolution has taken place? And these guys have never been criticized. They have never asked them to go out of power. But this time around, they are telling the young people who are coming up that you must set up a democratic elected system. Democracy has never worked, like you said in Africa. And we have been singing it has never worked. The juntas are producing more results. I'm not interested in how you get the power. I'm interested in how you get the job done. Whether you enter there through the window, if the job is being done, that's what's more important. Because if you want to coin this thing called democracy, it's an agenda set up in Africa to make the West constantly be in control of Africa. African Development Bank, 50% of its resources is from the US. AU, Israel has a seat in AU. We don't even know where European Parliament is found. No, we don't even know where it is found. I say the Europeans have seats in the EU. Israel has a seat in the EU. Where is Africans within the European and the Israeli circle? Nowhere to be found. So it tells you that we don't know what we do. We don't know what to do. They are the ones who come to tell us what to do. You are telling me that somebody has been in leadership for 40 years, they does not know what to do. They are still telling him. And the person who is telling him what to do is like a son to him. That means younger children who have come into leadership are guiding parents who have been in leadership for para 40 years. Is that not something? That's not an improper fraction if you want to weigh it on fraction. That a child who came to power yesterday is the one counseling you who has been in power for 40 years. Something is wrong. So the reason why I say we should allow this new trend of leadership to prove to us that we have failed for 60 years, the better. It's the truth. These young guys in Burkina Faso, in Niger, and Mali, they are proving to us that how you come to power is not as important as what you do with power. Because they will tell us democratically elected. It sounds like good English. The English doesn't help us. We don't want democratically elected as per se. We want people who can get the job done. And if at all a leader comes that is getting the job done, how he came to power should not be the focus. It should be what he's doing with the power. Because our so-called democratically elected presidents have been given power for many years and there is nothing substantial that has come out of it. So what do you want in the village? Do you want a king that is going to change the community? Or you want a king that came from the loins of kings? Because another witchcraft in Africa is that we must look for somebody that comes from the loins of the king, even if the person is a dunce. We should allow him to sit in the place of responsibility, which is not correct. I think we should look for people who are competent to get the job done. You are going to call Paul Kagame a dictator. As long as he's getting that job done, he's not a dictator. To me, he's a developer. You are going to call Ibrahim Traoré, or you call Assimi Goïta, they say he has banned political parties. It is not very nice grammar. It is democratically wrong to ban political parties. Since they had democracy, since 1960 till date, what did they do? What has it done to them? So it is important. The Africa. Now, my point of emphasis here today is that the Africa that was in 1960, that had some of those people who did not know left from right. This is a new Africa. The level of awareness, like Mr. Sakwe said, he said they will meet Africa economically the same. They may meet them infrastructurally the same. They may meet them politically the same, but they will never meet them the same in terms of ideology. Because the campaign and the awareness right now in Africa has become a very dangerous zone. If it were to be in the past, a man like Traoré would have been kicked out of the picture. Assimi Goïta out of the picture because the people were not aware. This level of prolongation for him to still be in power now tells you that the same people that existed in the days of Sankara are not the same people who are in the days of Ibrahim Traoré. because it was a walkover to eliminate Sankara. But it's becoming a bit difficult and very, very hard for them to penetrate Traoré. This is because in the past, the oppressor used the oppressed to kick liberators. This time around, it is the oppressed using the liberator to kick out the oppressor. So it's not going to be easy anymore. That's the reason if you watch the comment on BBC on social media, only Africans responded on it. The insult, I'm sure they are supposed to block that comment because Africans fell on it for the very first time in my life. And then the advent of the social media also, things are not done in the hiding. Things are done now in public. And there's a kind of campaign all over the continent, as a matter of fact, across the globe. Because when people came out to march for Traoré, people marched not only in Burkina Faso, but Sankara was killed in Burkina Faso, there was no news anywhere. Gaddafi was killed in Libya, there was no news anywhere. Samora Machel eliminated in Mozambique, there was no news anywhere. Nkrumah was kicked out of Ghana, there was no news anywhere. So if you keep following Ahmed Bembela of Nigeria, they will kick. But look at a young man who is being tossed in an era where there is awareness. So people died in those days because the masses that were supposed to protect them were not aware. I'm sure so much hygiene has taken place in Africa as far as decolonizing the minds of the African is concerned. As Ali Maziru in his book said, that we need to decolonize the mind. And I'm sure that that decolonization has taken place because social media has spread messages in areas people were very blind. I have come out from this platform and somebody come and said, Nanama, I don't open no. Because why? The media, mainstream, social media has been a platform through which the right information is sent to the people. Do you know that when Kuma died, all his write-ups and his books were burnt and banned? Because he wrote philosophies in those books that if Africans had consumed, they would have had this revolution. But unfortunately, Africans are not a reading type, but they can easily listen. That's the reason why since the advent of the social media, we have people who are pumping the truth everywhere, the wind is blowing almost everywhere. If you look at it critically, the awareness of Pan-Africanism now is far more heavier than ever before. That's why you cannot just suddenly come to Africa and snatch our own. Do you know what it means for Gambians, Zambians, Mozambicans, South Africans, Americans to be marching for Ibrahim Traoré? It's a whole ball game, totally different. It tells you that even the last man standing in the street of Ouagadougou is now conscious that we are not ready to trade another Sankara for Blaise Compaoré.
Okay. We are going to be looking at what do we do. Almost everybody is still interested in Africa because from every indication our subsoil is very, very rich. We are the richest continent on earth, so everybody is coming. How do we do to stop a recolonization and to trade on a win-win basis?
Mr. Kum, unfortunately, it is difficult but possible. It is difficult because, one, the West have understood how selfish we are. That when we sit like this, like the four of us in the studio now, and we have a deal, they will pass by and come and tell me, and buy me over. The secret of the way forward on this would have been that if Africans could unite and say, okay, what these young guys are doing is working, let's give it a try for 5 years. If we take out our boundaries and allow for free trade among African countries, and this is one thing this one weapon that Africa has that Africa is not making good use of. Because what is produced in Cameroon is needed in Mozambique. What is produced in Congo is needed in Ethiopia. If we open up that these things can move, we can easily develop, and that is what the white man is trying. And that was the genesis of the Berlin Conference. It was to split us and keep us divided because they knew that unity in Africa is a very big strength that we're going to have. So for us to move forward in this generation, we have to consider first, try something else. Try another approach. We have been doing what we have been doing for 60 years, and Africa is not developed. How do we move forward? Use the facilities available now. Use the new partners in the market, the Russians, the Chinese, and everybody around. Take an assessment, and where do we benefit more? Who can bring us more benefit? Who can give us better deals? How can we get deals that will benefit us? How do we get Africa developed? I mean, if you look at it, these guys in the Sahel for 2 years have done what for 60 years nobody has done in Africa. I don't think there's any, if I'm wrong, you correct me, there's any country in Africa that is processing its own gold in its own country. I don't think there's any. I don't think it's and that is where you are going to produce value chain that produces a lot of money and a lot of employment for your youth. And if you create, there's something about development that I've noticed. When I was young and I used to travel a lot around the world, you look at those very developed countries, you hardly meet their nationals. You hardly meet their nationals in Europe and America. You hardly. They can only go for studies and come back home. They don't go and perch and hang around like Africans do. Why? Because back home they are comfortable. So if you develop Africa, you realize that the trend, and there was a former minister of, French minister of economics, who said if they don't kill these guys, in the future, the trend of immigration will mean that you have to come to Africa to come and beg for food. And that is the truth. That's the truth. So if the only way for Africa is we have to find ways to progress, begin to develop by way of industrialization. Fortunately, we have a very strong weapon. The African youths are very intelligent and talented. It was difficult. Most of us moved to Europe and America and we have acquired skills. The last thing that is needed is just for the African government to create the appropriate ground for African diaspora to come back with this technology, and they will be able to precipitate the process of African development. So at the end of the day, we need to unite. It is not easy, but it is possible.
Okay. Mr. Sakwe, how do we move Africa from a chessboard to a key player where you don't come to invite us around continents to play around us, but actually get itself to the position where other nations come and strike win-win partnerships? Okay, looks like he's not there. You take this one. How do we move from where they come to play chess in Africa in their benefit, away from getting us on the table so that we talk as equal partners?
Mr. Kum Leonard, the concept and the birth of true leadership comes from the masses of the unity of the people. Because if we are not able to achieve leadership in this format where the masses are agreeing to have this form or this leader to lead them, we'll always have this problem where leaders will be moved around. Why? Because the masses are not standing behind these leaders, but these leaders are being protected with ammunition, with a form of government which is being recognized legally at the level of the United Nations, which means they will back you and support you in order for you to repress those whose voices matters. They will move you around because it is win-win. You have your own benefits and they have their own benefits for exploiting about 85% of your masses. So we must understand that unity, as for example, Cameroon, we are in 2025 facing a pending election that is coming ahead of us in October. What process do we take to build coalition? Not coalition among political parties, but coalition among other African nations that are moving into a position and a dispensation where they cannot be tossed around because the masses of the African people have added value to those leaders. If Russia will send plane for Ibrahim Traoré to go to Russia, is because of the value of the people that are standing behind him, not him as an individual. Because his personality and his esteem and value comes from the masses of his people. So I would say that the Burkinabe have been respected and recognized by other world leaders to be people of honesty and people of just mind and people of uprightness. So we must learn that this road which we have been taking, going into polls to define our own destiny in divided ranks, has only made us to become servants who have been instructed and directed by other foreign hands which we do not see. And at the end of the day, it's to our own advantage. So we must understand that in order for us not to be tossed around, we cannot allow others to appoint leaders for us and expect those leaders to make our lives better. We can come back even to our own common situation in our country. We have a party in power. Only the party members
do well. Now, other political parties are seen, they are indirectly seen as opposition or call it opposition leaders. So you cannot benefit in somebody's vision, which is not your vision, because each of those political parties have their ideologies, and they have their own party ethics, and they have their own goals and vision, which even among themselves they don't even agree. So we must not, I keep saying, ever think that we can develop, we can progress, we can be the people that we are supposed to be if we live in division. So unity begins first at home. What do we do, for example, in the 2025 election that is in Cameroon? To build a coalition with these other nations, we should learn to speak with one voice. We should be able to build a box where all Cameroonians can be able to express themselves. We should be able to find common needs and interests that binds us together. If we know that our country has resources that is enough to take care of all Cameroonians, that is a good reason why a Cameroonian should not betray another Cameroonian. Rather, they should build unity in order for them to define their own future and be masters of their own destiny. So I think that we should educate the masses to understand that our lands are rich, and we are rich in resources that is capable enough to build all Cameroonians and give us a very comfortable life. We cannot live in a country where owning a land becomes as if you are won a jackpot. No! While you go in other developing countries, it's your birthright for you to be able to own a land, for you to be able to have a home. It's something the government enables you to do, because if you cannot enjoy and share in the nation's resources, then you are a foreigner in your own country, and this is where these people are keeping us. I'm not saying that we should go against leadership, but we should understand the form of leadership that the West has planted in Africa, and this is what we must uproot. So I want to say that the people who are vying to take the presidential stool, which is hereditary, should understand that they should not be interested to remove the incumbent president. They should be interested to remove the colonialists who keeps these people here for their own particular interest. Mr.
Okay. Mr. Sakwe, are you back? Okay, Mr. Sakwe, if you are there, the question I will ask you is where the problem in Africa is. Africa was colonized like most of these Asian nations, as well as the Arab states. But when you look at what is happening in the Middle East, the situation is quite different. We see President Trump, who was in Qatar today. You see, the President of the United States is going to discuss with Qatar. And when you look at it's a small nation, they moved to the United Arab Emirates, and they moved to Saudi Arabia and all these nations. Why is the African situation different? Because these nations were equally colonized. They are not as big as one would imagine. We see the President of the United States engaging the President of Syria. They discuss with these guys. Why is Africa different?
Mr. Leo, I first of all want to say that where the Middle East is and where Qatar is, they didn't take a long time like Africa has taken, but has not arrived there. They took a shorter time, like 4 decades, and now they are where they are. Is what I was saying before. You look at a small single country, and the president of the United States, the most powerful man on earth, will travel there to see them, to discuss business, to sign deals, to negotiate with them. But if he has to speak with Africa, oh no, he doesn't even send his vice president, he sends somebody else. So going by that, I would say that what the Middle East did, what these smaller countries did, individual countries, not a country.
Look at Nigeria.
Like if I quote Apostle Ambi, they see Africa like a nation, although there are 54 nations in a continent. They don't call for a single country, they always call for all of Africa. It's a message we should interpret positively and not negatively. Now, that is simply because the Middle East, Qatar, where they can rub shoulders with America economically. They have something to bring on the table. when America speak, they too can speak. But when it comes to Africa, we don't have anything to bring to the table. So why will I come to see you? I go to where I visit someone who has something to offer. I don't come to somewhere that there's nothing to offer. So it's simple. It's not rocket science. However, the problem of Africa today, Mr. Leo, is not, it cannot be viewed from a single angle. It can be viewed from diverse angle. Now, Africa has had leaders. Africa has had leaders who were so mediocre in their thinking. I apologize to Africa for saying this, but if you go through some of articles signed, some of diplomacies that were arrived at, some of the negotiations that were made by some Africans, by former African elites, political leaders, which I want to assume and believe that there were some state presidents among. If you look at what they signed and agreed upon, you'll be like, oh, what is happening? So they fueled the impression that the West had. They already had an impression. Remember, we were their slaves. So some time ago, we were their slaves. So they already have an impression these people are not our equals. And our leaders signing and negotiating with them in a way that fueled that impression, made them believe that indeed these people are not equal to us. I think one of Africa's problem right now that Africa need to solve before they can think of anything is the problem of identity. When Africa realized their identity, now they will not find it. The current education, the current curriculum across Africa will not have a place. It's not us. The current religion in Africa, it will not have a place. It's not us. The current democracy is not a tool of development. It's not a government that develops the people. Because normally when you gather people, you equally have created a platform for conflict. Where there are two or more persons, there is equally a higher percentage of disagreement, delay, and also all kinds of obstacles for development. So it makes the brainstorming process to be very long. Now, democracy, what we have in Africa, is not what is going to help Africa. So Africa's problem begins with identity. When Africans have realized their identity, they will kick away the democracy they are practicing. They will kick away the education they have. They will kick away the religion and the fake spirituality they have. Now, if you look at Mr. Leo, if you look at these countries you just mentioned, what can you see which is different about it? You will see that their beliefs are different. They maintain their identity. It is not only Africa that was colonized. India was, but they did not take the religion of the West. Give us your technology. If you are not giving us your technology, take your religion away. Give us this one. If you are not giving us this one, take this one you are giving us away. You should never in a day believe that your enemy can help you or your enemy will be on your side. Once your enemy tells you that this will help you, Mr. Leo, your enemy is giving you a weapon that he knows at any time he can use that weapon to defeat you. So democracy is a weapon that was given to Africa, and they know very well, and they have been using that for a very long time to keep Africa where Africa is. At every time they can, they know democracy is what they will use. So I think Africa's problem is identity. Keep out what is not yours. Kick it out. It shouldn't be complaints all the time. I believe the departments of education across Africa or of ministers of education, of the Ministry of Education across Africa, they think alike. When you meet with some of these people, you talk to them, Mr. Lee, you'll be shocked. They think alike. They be like, we know. Yeah, like one minister of education was saying the other day in New York that if Africa has the educational system America have, there will be chaos in Africa, because the physics in America permits a child to be able to use printer that you used to print your A4 papers to produce firearms, to shoot piercing and be able to take a life with that. If you bring that kind of physics to Africa, now America has all other kind of subsidiary methods, or all kinds of security measures to handle things. They have all those various little companies and agencies that will handle situations. Now, he said something which was clear in the room. He said, if you guys always cry here in the diaspora, Africa should change the curriculum. If we bring the curriculum in America to Africa, it's going to cause a lot of chaos. But I want to believe that that is his thinking. And if you look at it, it's not different from those people who signed the agreement of the African Growth and Opportunity Act in the United States in the late 90s. It's not different from those who signed the AGOA. You don't look at the negative aspect of a policy or of something before you implement it. Every policy, every rule has the negative and the positive, has its limitations. But you look at the benefits, right? If you say that this physics will produce people who can produce weapons, arms to kill people, you should look at it like it's going to produce engineers that will create jobs. What is important is the jobs that it will be created.
Okay.
Not everybody is a thug that will go to learn physics to produce weapons to kill people. Not everybody is a thug, right?
Okay, Mr. Sakwe, we are out of time. Why are we where we are? Because he raised an issue maybe you just did not understand. He meant that they see us like people who cannot give. It's not as if he meant that our subsoil is not rich.
No, you see, African brings nothing on the table.
Yep.
The people of Qatar bring something on the table.
Yep, because they have developed themselves to where they are. He was talking about the United Arab Emirates. They have a subsoil that is rich, but they have exploited it to their benefit. Why has Africa not also risen up to expectations? Is it the fact that we may be prioritizing what we don't need? That is, we focus our energy on things that we don't need. We have all the lands, we have almost everything, but China is coming to Africa to produce rice to export out of the. What are we waiting for? You raised the issue of the toothpick.
Yes.
We are shying away from our strong point.
This is where the problem is. The problem is that they always make sure they keep leaders in Africa who protect us from doing those things that those Arab countries are doing to develop.
Yeah, because the Arab countries have taken advantage of the oil they have.
Yes.
They have risen to the expectations and have worked in. Why are we not using what we have?
Our leaders.
Right now, as we are talking, Donald Trump and his team that visited Qatar.
They
visited Saudi Arabia.
Independently. They didn't call them together.
Nobody called them. They booked for their appointment to go and see those kings there.
Kings, yeah?
No,
not,
kings. They are not democrats.
Not democratically elected.
Kings.
Yes.
Kings.
Yes.
To go and see kings. If you calculate population of Qatar, because we are talking about population growth, we are talking about infrastructure, we are talking about natural resources. Qatar has one natural resource.
Oh, yeah. Gas.
It's gas.
It's just
natural
gas.
gas.
Yes.
Population is 3 million people. 3.3 million 160 people now.
I don't know. Not up to the I don't know.
Yes, 3 million. Yes, 3 million. Qatar is 3 million. Now, America, with almost 340 something million people, the president, the world power, books an appointment in Qatar, flies there to go and see a nation of 3 million people to discuss issues on gas. Meanwhile, if you put the gas of Nigeria, that of Angola, and you add Libya there, Qatar disappears from the surface when it comes to oil. Those just 3 countries. In addition to that, there are many other resources in Africa. They are going to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is oil. Apart from oil, there's nothing else. But we have everything you may look for in life in this Africa. Why is it that they will respect such kings with little population?
They are not democrats.
Little population, little land surface, and one natural resource. They fly there to go
in the desert.
In the desert. Meanwhile, we are here. America will get 90% of its raw material. There are flights leaving Congo around the Kivu area every day from Goma carrying cobalt with tarmacs tarred in forests where gold and other minerals are leaving Congo Brazzaville, Congo Kinshasa, back to America. How much gas does Qatar give America? How much gas does Saudi Arabia give America as compared to the raw materials here? What is the value placed on those people that we do not have? What can we put as a measuring rod for them despising us and treating them better? Is it their color? Is it their population?
No.
Is it natural resources?
No.
We have in abundance.
No.
Population we have in abundance. What is that thing that is missing amongst us?
Leadership.
I want to believe that it is because those people there protect their leaders, and their leaders work in the interest of the people.
Period.
Number two, those people decide their leaders. Yeah, leaders are forced upon us. So a leader is working for the interest of him that sent him, not the people he is sent to. He is working for the interest of those who sent him, not the ones he is sent to. You saw the video of Jean Bendel Bokassa weeping at the grave of Charles de Gaulle. When Charles de Gaulle died, that his own biological father, he didn't cry like that. This is to let you understand that without Charles de Gaulle, Bokassa will never become president in terms of pedigree. So they carry people and send to us who are working for them. They are not working for us. But those people, their kings are monarchs, and they work for the interest of the people. And that's the reason why the little resource they have it's amplified. For those people who have not traveled to Europe, traveled to Europe, you drive the streets of London. What you see there is cypress trees. You can't see mango tree. You can't see pawpaw tree. To tell you how rich Africa is, you eat pawpaw and throw the seedlings everywhere you find a pawpaw tree. You find pear in the neighborhood. You can drive through London, you will not see one fruit tree. And those trees that are deliberately planted to maintain the ecosystem. You can smell lack in the atmosphere, yet these guys control resources. What is the problem? It's leadership. I have said it. It takes human resource to manage natural resource. If we don't have human resource, even if we sit on 100 billion natural resource,
like we will still
be poor.
Like we are sitting.
And you go to some countries like Croatia. Croatia has but a seaport. There are no natural resources there. Singapore that we are seeing around the world, it has
nothing.
No cocoa,
Just their
coffee.
Just their
But it takes leadership, human resource. A man who has brain can transfer word from one place to his community. A man that has no brain, they will come and carry the world he's sitting on. So what is wrong in Africa? Is it not strange to you that people who are intelligent in Africa can never lead? They select the minds, they filter the minds, and then they manipulate. Yes. They say one of the ways to punish a people is to give them a leader.
Okay, we are out of time, and we are going to continue this discussion. And next week, definitely, we need to discuss Africa as much as we can. Mr. Sakwe, thank you for accepting our invitation and participating in tonight's edition of Prime Hour.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. It's a privilege always to be with you, and anytime you call, our answer to empower Africans to know that our solution lie within us. We don't need anybody from wheresoever. There is no savior from anywhere to save Africa. Our leaders need to wake up. They are trying their best, but they need to do more. And if you are expired to be in a position, leave that position. It is time for Africa to stop depending on the West. It is time for Africa to look within. And I want to say thank you to our viewers for having us tonight. Thank you to you, all the panelists, in great sharing minds with Chipos Ambe. I always admire your point, and you are you are a resource to this nation and to Africa. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aka. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum, and I think that we thank God for today, and I will say that this debate has been fruitful, and that we hope that the message is going through. We hope that through such initiatives that you are taking, we'll be able to learn the lessons and learn how to grab this opportunity that's before us and make the best choices for Africa that will develop Africa, roads, hospitals, and whatever, so that we too can stand tomorrow and say, no, we can stop dying in the sea. Our youth can stop dying in the sea and decide to stay in Africa because they have what it takes to be a happy family.
Andrin, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum Leonard, and all the viewers of my Media Prime. I hope that the minds that have been poured out today will be able to enlighten a lot of Africans that have listened to this program. That Qatar speaks with one voice, and they have a monarchy, and they don't use democracy. The reason why we will always be disrespected is because we are so divided, and we have different languages in the name of democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Apostle, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Thank you, these brilliant panelists today. Thank you, Mr. Sakwa, for the compliments. I was also very inspired by your presentation, and we will need you more on my Media Prime. Thank you, Cameroonians, and all those who contributed far and beyond this continent. God bless you. We'll keep on sharing the information, bringing the sensitization until Africa comes to a place where every child, even the ones who are still breastfeeding, will know that we do not need any other country to survive.
Thank you all for watching. Desmond and Eli for production. Tabi Tambe Brian for supervision. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.